Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast, and welcome to our spoiler-filled discussion for Marvel Studios' The Fantastic Four: First Steps. He's not us. He's more. Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast. My name is Nate, and this is our spoiler-filled discussion for The Fantastic Four: First Steps. If you're joining us for the first time, we are Geekcentric, a podcast celebrating the world of movies, TV shows, games, and all things geek-centric. Now, I'm just one of four fantastic hosts on today's episode, so joining me are some members of Geekcentric's first family. First up, she's on a multiversal mission to magnify the marvelous while mitigating Mole Man's meandering manipulations. She's Megan, the cosmic star charting chambers.
I would like for everybody to take their shoes off before they enter. Just kidding. It's all dirt.
It's all dirt. It's all dirt. Happy to have you. I mean, realistically, if we're going to talk about dirt, next up. He's not dirt. He works with. Anyways, we've talked about this in the podcast.
He's the mole man.
Yeah.
Yes. If anything, it's clobbering time because he's here to debate Doom's destiny. He's Darcy, the dimensional H.E.R.B.I.E holding Hudson. I feel like you'd hold H.E.R.B.I.E if he was worried.
Oh yeah, I mean that guy is such a lovable little animal robot. I don't know, the fact that Johnny scratches him and pets him and he's
kind of a pet.
More an animal than a person. I don't know.
Yeah, and I feel like, you know, in the movie he does collect dirt samples at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep. Yeah,
So
I mean that'd be great if someone else could do it for me. Oh.
That would be. And last but certainly not least, he's always jiving through jump gates. He's Justin, the Johnny Lovin' Latverian Lawrence.
You got both initials in there. I like that.
I know.
Latverian.
I feel like you'd be Latverian. You kind of look Latverian. I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means.
Vaguely European.
What is Latverian? Yeah.
None of us do.
Eastern European.
It's because I'm a mystery in terms of my cultural
I think
identity.
it's part of your height. I think it's part of your height. Maybe you're taller than all of us. I think Latvians are tall. I don't know. Doom's tall, so
yeah.
You know.
Are they from
with a stretch
Latvia?
metaphor too.
No, not Latveria.
MCU.
Hold on, let's all push our glasses up together. No, Megan. Oh gosh,
It's been a while, guys. It's been a while.
It's been a while. We've got a lot to talk about with this movie, and in full spoiler details. So before we get into things we might have already spoiled a few things, but before we get into things, this is your full spoiler warning yet again. If you haven't seen The Fantastic Four: First Steps yet, be sure to do so, and then come right back in a snap. Now, I've got some spoiler-filled segments to take us through our cosmic conversation. But first off, Megan, as of this recording, you know, this was your first time seeing the movie. Mm-hmm. And, you know, while I'm at it, I want to also wish huge Galactus-sized thanks to Disney Studios Canada and Marvel Studios Canada for inviting us out to see the movie, as well as inviting us out to a little soiree you might have seen on our socials afterwards. We got all dressed up in our most fantastic retro futuristic fits for a lovely evening, getting to connect with other fans and friends and folks from within our industry, and just to party it up and drink some cosmic drinks. I know Justin and Darcy, you guys went through that whole menu, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
at least once.
We had, I think I had one of. You have to.
One of each.
And they're not like,
drinks.
yeah, and if you're,
drinks.
Yeah, they have four drinks, have four drinks.
Exactly. He's still drinking them, I think.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, they were great.
No,
you got to try them all, though, right?
You know?
Why not? One was full of tequila.
It was very strong.
The root beer float was. The root beer
thank
float
you
was
to
really
that
good.
bartender for that one.
yes. But it was really cool to kind of head to that after party and get to see it was decorated so wonderfully. Again, check out our socials. You can check out some of our stuff there and see what we got up to. But Megan, I want to kind of, before we dive into the spoiler filled elements that I've got prepared for us to talk about, I want to ask. This is Megan's Minute. I'm calling it. Megan, what did you think of the Fantastic Four: First Steps?
I'm going to call it now Miss Megan's Minutes.
Oh,
Minute.
Okay. Oh, like Miss Minutes?
Okay, go.
Okay.
Go. I had so much fun at this movie. It's been a while since I've had that kind of fun with a Marvel movie. Granted, I haven't seen Thunderbolts yet, so I am aware that it's been a while. The characters felt really fresh and new to me, even though we have seen this team many times before in different iterations. It's giving like Tom Holland's Spider-Man in that way, that we know these stories, but they felt new in this movie. It was really simple, really streamlined, in my opinion. The story was, and it could have easily been muddled by adding more villains, more detail to relationships, backstory, all that kind of stuff. I'm obsessed with Johnny Storm. I idolize Sue Storm. And I left with another little jolt of excitement for where the MCU is headed in this new season of storytelling. And I just kind of can't wait to... I'm happy to be on the ride now. Again.
That was exactly a minute. Wow.
She killed it.
Hey-o.
Megan, maybe that's your superpower.
Maybe.
You can keep track of time really well. I wanted to mention, because when we came out of, I think, and you said this on our the Marvels review, that you felt this sort of renewal, this jolt of energy for the MCU. Would you say it's on that same level with Fantastic Four?
Totally. It's the new trajectory that Marvel is taking, I feel, is picking up in places. We talked about it a lot, actually, then after seeing it, because we're in the spoiler space now. I can say, because
we're
full
full spoilers.
Yeah, we're not on 199999 or 616. I don't need to be looking for those Marvel Easter eggs. I don't need to have seen everything before this. So you go into it with a lot less pressure. And I think that's why I'm feeling excited about these new steps.
Yeah.
No pun intended?
These first steps. No, absolutely.
No, pun intended. Pun intended. You don't.
It's 2025. We can all intend.
Come on.
We can intend the puns.
Yeah.
But no. Okay, cool. I absolutely appreciate it. Do you have a score out of 5 Fantastics that you want to give it?
Oh, I'm gonna give it 4 Fantastics.
Yeah.
I think that it's not like the most incredible Marvel movie I've ever seen, but it got me excited and I had a lot of fun. So. And it was a Fantastic 4.
Hey.
We can keep going now.
There you go. You got it in. We've all been dropping these. Actually, I think Darcy's a little above. That's a little like,
no, I did it once. My score, instead of saying Fantastics, I said Fantastic 4.5 because it sounded better in my head.
Yeah. And the 0.5 in defense of Darcy and I's score, it's the baby. It's the baby. But speaking of babies, some characters that I would consider a bit of a baby at times, and I also relate to, oddly enough, but also would love to hold both of them. This next segment, from H.E.R.B.I.E to Harvey. We talked about our love for.
That was like
that.
That was a. I was like trying to figure
for different reasons.
Yeah, like that was very interesting. Okay, I'm interested in how you want to hold Harvey.
I mean, who wouldn't want to? He's such a lovely gentleman.
You want to hold his dirt.
End of the movie.
You want to hold his dirt.
Yeah, I want to hold his dirt. Yeah. We're all on this one big bus to Subterranea. But I wanted to get into our thoughts on H.E.R.B.I.E and don't call him Mole Man, Paul Walter Hauser as Harvey Rupert Elder. I think for a lot of the scenes that they were in, a lot of the sequences they were in, they kind of stole the show at some of these moments. So I wanted to throw it to anyone and everyone who'd like to chat about them. What were your thoughts of H.E.R.B.I.E and Harvey Mole Man?
Well, I love the fact that H.E.R.B.I.E isn't a voiced character. I know that was a lot of contention or like the theories going into this is who was voicing it. And the fact that they just went with Matthew Wood to do a generic droid, beeps and boops that only they can understand. It just gave me Star Wars vibes in all the greatest ways. Yeah. And then just the way that the character interacted with the whole team and was just like, again, a family pet or friend or part of the family. And the role it filled was so great. And again, the fact that it collects samples, I would love that for myself. So he was great. H.E.R.B.I.E was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, he reminded me, he was giving me Chopper energy, like in terms of sounds. But like in the sense that like Chopper's grumpy, but Herbie's kind and sweet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So like you get that vibe. Exactly. He's the opposite of Chopper. I think that would be a really great, crossover series if we ever got that. But like
droids.
Droids. Yeah,
droids.
exactly.
And somehow through the fabric of time and space, H.E.R.B.I.E finds themselves, that would be amazing. That'd be amazing. Megan, did you? I know, like,
I mean, of course,
right. One of my favorite things sitting next to Megan in the theaters is just all her reactions to things. So whenever H.E.R.B.I.E was up on the screen, it was always
always
delightful.
a good little giggle. I love a droid. I love any kind of character that's going to talk like an Animal Crossing character. You've won.
You got
me.
5 out of 5.
His just cute little, like you said, beeps and boops. And Darcy, I agree with you. The fact that the family understood everything he was saying, but there was absolutely no way for us to understand even what he was like inclining to say is my favorite part of droids.
There was one part that that it sounded like he said something. You know, when Sue comes in to the nursery and he's building the crib, and it's like, oh, you're back. Like,
that is what dude, I heard, oh, you're back.
Yeah. So there's like instances where you could understand, like, even I think there's like that lullaby that he sings, it kind of has like a very familiar sort of tone. But I think that was what was interesting about it, is that you didn't know if you were going crazy, like, because you could understand him, or if he actually was saying something that you could understand. So I think that was smart.
Yeah, you definitely have to listen to. I mean, I've been listening to the full score for Michael Giacchino, and we got to one track on our way back home from the event, and it was H.E.R.B.I.E doing the lullaby, and he's like, but then I will just, as an aside, really quickly say, Justin and I were like, Apple Music has this function where once you reach the end of a track, sometimes it'll bring you a track that is similar or whatever, and it starts playing this like flute music, like
that was
lullaby
like
flute music.
It was crazy. So we were just driving, thinking that it was part of the song. And then Nate's like, "How long is this part?" Like, we were driving, and he looks. He's like, "Holy shit! It's a whole new song." Like, we were dying of laughter.
It wasn't H.E.R.B.I.E at all. So if H.E.R.B.I.E wants to play the flute, but no, I adored H.E.R.B.I.E. Gave me a lot of Wall-E vibes as well.
Yes,
good right. Call. And then I also wanted to just shout out, because you mentioned him, Darcy. Matthew Wood does such a good job, because you just hear that, you think it's a computer, you think it's a whatever, but this is the man that not only gave us General Grievous, but also gave us Roger.
All the battle droids,
wow.
Right? Every B1 battle droid that you've heard is Matthew Wood, and he was such a standout. And I will say, I watched a video of somebody talking about all the different popcorn buckets for this movie, and I didn't realize this. There is a Galactus. Of course, everyone's seen the Galactus one. There is, and I don't know where it is, but there is a full, almost like half-sized, I guess, H.E.R.B.I.E popcorn bucket that
like
actually his head is just the soda holder. His whole body holds popcorn and candy. Wow. It's incredible.
Oh my God.
I need to find a way to get my hands on that one for sure. But speaking of getting your hands on some popcorn, getting your hands dirty, the dirt of it all, Darcy, let's throw it over to you, because you've spent as much time in the dirt as he has. Maybe what did you think of Paul Walter Hauser as Harvey Rupert Elder?
I mean, he was fantastic. I mean, I love Paul Walter Hauser in pretty much anything he's in. He's just a fantastic actor, and just the way he brought Harvey to life as what was the reformed villain, if you will, but just still likes to bug everyone in Fantastic Four and only respects Sue. Is just, I don't know, something about the way he brought the character and the way he delivered his jokes and lines. It's just like, I want more of him. And I don't care if it's an origin story where you see him fighting the Fantastic Four, or in a future story he's helping them again in some way. I just give me more Mole Man, because it was so good.
Yeah,
I agree. He had a really fantastic, like, comedic relief in a very stressful part of the movie. So I thought that was like nice to bring him in when everything was going to shit, and they were like, "Okay, we need your help now." But also, he just seemed like at the beginning of the movie he wasn't going to be anything. Like, it was just
I thought he was fully cut out.
Another kind of hint at the amount of villains that they have, but we're not going to get into it. And then to find that it was this kind of camaraderie brought between him and Sue was just like a fun little extra bit that didn't mean that much. He helped, but it didn't have to be this, like, backstory heavy scene. It was really great, and I loved the joke that he commented on Johnny and saying, like, "I didn't dress you." Don't be
mad at me, Johnny. So good. While he's wearing a bejeweled cummerbund, by the way.
Like, so good.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I think the beauty about getting someone like Paul Walter Hauser is, you can have that sort of flexibility of humor interjected into a role, because he's also a really good dramatic actor. So it's either going to go either way. So the fact that they leaned more comedy was good, because it kind of plays up the camp of the character. But we are getting beyond his, I guess, supervillain point. He's now transitioning to being, bit of a friend, but still
he's a leader of a
shit
new nation
disturber.
or a new city.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
and
he's still an annoying neighbor now.
Yeah, he's an annoying neighbor. Exactly. And I like that sort of play. But I will say, I really appreciated the fact that they were able to keep his character in it and kind of have a purpose for him on the back half of the story. I would have liked to have seen some of the other villains that they had referenced, like John Malkovich as the name, Darcy, it's escaping
the Red Ghost.
The Red Ghost, yeah. To see him as the Red Ghost, with the Super 8s. Like, we saw the Super 8s. It would have been okay if we saw John Malkovich, because just one of them. But like, that's true. We only saw one ape. It would have been great to see a whole army of apes. Give me that damn dirty ape. Oh, there's only 3. Yeah. Well, that's
it's an orangutan, a chimp, and like a gorilla. Like, yeah.
Okay, that's still cool. You got diversity there. I like that. Yes. So you got that. You got John Malkovich, and then like, like I just think that we could have had like all those moments up front when they were talking about all the different supervillains that they had confronted over the first 4 years of their, superhero journey. It would have been nice to have seen that, and they didn't need to go anywhere. But at least Paul, the Mole Man shows up, and we see how he's being helpful, and we get to see more of, again, like Paul Walter Hauser just kind of leaning into the humor, kind of playing up the camp, but in his own way. And yeah, I think that it was refreshing. It was a refreshing way to kind of take the character. He didn't take himself too seriously, right? He wasn't that serious. So I liked that angle that they decided to go with for Mole Man.
Yeah, and I mean, Matt Shackman in interviews has talked about the fact that they would almost do like in a theater production, like you would do rehearsals and things like that of different scenes, right? Instead of just showing up and everyone reading their lines. So I can only imagine Paul Walter Hauser there's probably some on the cutting room floor of different ways that he's said certain things or improvised.
Yeah, maybe some of it's
ways.
Improv. I'd be interested to know if
felt
any of his like jabs might be.
Yeah. In that moment when he's there to like they're going to ask him for his help, it does feel like in a lot of ways he's just kind of riffing and improving a little bit. You know what I mean?
Hello there, robot man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I forgot about
spread
that.
it, just spread it and slap it on.
Yeah, I was like, okay, you're getting really naughty, Mr. Mole Man. So
he's getting dirty. That's what he does. But Justin, you kind of were talking about a little bit going into the next segment that I want to bring up, which is, it's sometimes tough to talk about some of the things that didn't work about a movie without being able to go into spoilers. So I wanted to kind of open it up to the group. And this is our WTFFs, our what the freaking fricks, Fantastic Four. Anyways, you get the inspiration. So, I wanted to kind of go in if, and this is if you haven't already said it, but is there anything that really didn't work for you, Megan? I know there was a visual thing that really didn't work for you. I don't know if you wanted to bring that up or if you had something else, but let's all share our WTFFs.
Yeah, that was the only thing I wrote down. That really, I had another thing that like maybe there was some pacing issues, but it wasn't overly obvious for me in a first watch. I'm sure if I watched it again, I might feel the like some clunky moments, but the CGI baby, it really,
so bad.
Some shots was edging into the uncanny valley for me. And if you're someone who doesn't know what that is, it's this place between animation and realistic CGI where it doesn't quite look animated, it doesn't quite look real, and it's just like really displeasing. So I struggled a lot when I knew the baby was CGI, which was like 90% of the movie, and I think that could have been easily corrected by just not having Eben's character, the Thing, holding the baby. In my opinion, it could have just been held by another human, and he could have like been interacting, and the baby could have been looking at like a tennis ball, or actually him because he was there. I just feel like there were ways to fix it, and for any Twilight fans out there, it was occasionally giving me like early Renesmee vibes.
Oh no.
And that's rough. So I just would have preferred the real baby the whole time.
Yeah. I mean, I love the visual sort of idea of the Thing being this huge, powerful guy holding a cute little baby
the
and caring
juxtaposition is fun,
right? I understand it, but you're right from a standpoint of like maybe we're just not there technology wise, so maybe it's not worth it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he is. It's also just playing off the comic relationship because he is Franklin's god uncle and godfather. Sorry, and uncle. But like he's the one over Johnny who's like, yeah, you're the one who we trust instilling our kids with the right values because he is like Johnny. The kindest guy. No, Johnny likes girls and he likes space. So that's all he cares about. Really, he'll be a fun uncle, but I'm not sure if he'd be the best uncle.
yeah. He's always thinking about sexy aliens, sexy silver aliens. But Darcy, did you have anything that you didn't get? I mean, again, we talked a lot on our spoiler free about a lot of this stuff, but was there anything?
My big thing is the Human Torch. Sometimes he looked fantastic, and it was outfit based. I said in our spoiler free review where it was depending on the outfit. Geez, it either looked great or it looked horrible. And specifically, what comes to mind was when he's flying alongside the Silver Surfer on Galactus's ship, and it just looks very much early Iron Man, like floating head, but except we could see through his head, and it was just pasted on the side of this weird spacesuit that's on fire. And I don't know, there's just so much for that one scene where I'm just like, there's some cool dialogue happening here, but all I can see is just this weird, like almost copy paste sliding spaceman being flown through space. I don't know. That was one of the it was supposed to be a really cool and intense moment, and I just found myself taken out of it by the way he looked.
Yeah, and I feel like to your point, like that would have been more worth it if the idea of him running out of oxygen played if it felt more dire. I think they meant it to, and it felt you've noticed it a little bit at the end. He comes in, he's like gasping for breath. But I agree. I think you could have just had them walking next to each other. It would have been perfectly fine and not as distracting in a very important moment for sure.
Yeah, why is it stressful? There's no purpose.
Or like, why did he have to be sideways? He could have been like kind of angled, standing up next to her and floating next to her. Why did you need to be like this?
Because you see him like that in other parts of the movie for sure.
It's just it was a weird choice and position for him to be next to. I don't know. Again, the whole scene too. It was like not just like a one-time thing. It's like they're having a conversation. Every time they flash back to Johnny, I was like, man, this looks bad.
Yeah.
And especially with where we end up with Johnny and his sort of the big aspect, like the big sort of huge part of his arc. It's like maybe even though that was part of the setup, it might have been a bit distracting and sort of fallen a bit flat, so that when we do get to that big crazy wow moment, it doesn't quite hit the same. Maybe, I don't know.
Yep.
Justin, how about for yourself? Any WTFs?
I know we talked about visual effects in our spoiler-free review, and that's definitely something that shows. It was a negative. The CGI babies, the way Johnny looked, some effects in other places too, looked very artificial. I think the second time watching it, seeing that scene when Reed is getting stretched, like he's obviously getting stretched, but it's very CGI, and obviously how are you going to fake that or make that look real, right? So there's only one way to do it, and that's probably just me being really nitpicky. I think the other thing I alluded to, but I didn't really get into, I feel like is the pacing of the story, like the apparentness of how much was obviously cut. When we do these reviews and we're kind of on the we get that vibe of the movie, and we sit down, there's so much that we really like that we want to talk about, more so than sometimes right off the bat the things that we didn't like, because we're so excited. And obviously with having seen the movie now twice and having sort of reaffirmed certain things, it's like, I think it's apparent that there's things that are cut from this film. There's even right now, like some of the cast have been posting photos and the outfits that they're seeing, and other people have been posting clips from trailers and saying like, why wasn't this in the movie? Why wasn't this in the movie? But they were in the trailer. It's from a watching the movie standpoint, it feels like sorry, let me say that again. From watching the movie, it's very apparent that things were cut out and the pacing was like shifted around, and maybe it was for the better to a certain degree, because like I guess it's to focus more on that theme of family, but it doesn't hide the fact that there was obviously some stuff taken out, and Johnny's arc, while interesting, felt like, how the fuck is he learning all of this so quickly? Right? Like
well,
he is smart, right, Darcy?
I know.
He's a genius.
No, I know. So, but like, he's
not the smartest man.
No, for sure.
No,
but like,
sure.
they just kind of jumped to that. Like even when he has his 2:15 meeting, like I would have liked to see the precursor to that of like why he wants to have that meeting. And that could have just been a short scene with like him and Ben saying like, Ben's like, you're going to go have a meeting with him. What are you going to talk about? Right. And like, you get a little bit more of this, like, you know, he has that burning desire to also be a genius. You see what I did there? And, you know, and then he's trying to, and then he proves himself. And that would have been a really interesting arc. We just kind of started with that meeting and there was really no setup other than a gag to it and a bit of a jokey vibe. And I understand what it was. He really wants to go back to space, and that feels like it's a part of a fulfillment for his character to want to do that, and to see this Silver Surfer. It's just like it kind of like romanticizes space that much more. But I just feel like we kind of like that whole sequence, that whole sort of arc for him. While it was nice to see him get that time, it just felt really rushed for him to kind of get there. But I get it. He's a genius. He's probably supposed to be some sort of super genius. And that might have just been something that I didn't personally know, right? That I just thought of him as like hothead Johnny.
Well, I think it's the more built on the fact that like that what we see of them getting ready for that first mission, they're all being trained again. It's like they're joking the fact that it's a scientist and his wife, brother-in-law, and best friend are all going up to space type thing. And it's like, oh, this is so ridiculous. It can't be true. But it's like they all worked really hard to get there. And that, I guess that isn't really very apparent. And I guess that is one thing I do think is weird about this movie. It's called First Steps, and we never see anyone take the first steps in anything really, like except for unless you count Galactus walking on Earth. Is that the first steps that we're talking
those
about?
Are his first steps in a long time.
I guess so.
First, remember, like I think if we take out the literal sort of thing of first steps, we can break it down. But I want to let Meg go first.
Getting
Meg.
a better Fantastic Four.
Sorry, yeah.
It's okay. I just have like a comment to all of that, and I literally said it at the beginning with my 1 minute exact. That it's giving Tom Holland Spider-Man. He was introduced and we didn't get the backstory. We didn't get him turning into Spider-Man. We didn't get an Uncle Ben situation because we don't need it, because we've had it.
Yeah,
multiple times.
I'm okay with that.
Right?
It's the naming. And like, if
totally.
it's supposed to be a standalone film, you can't call it First Steps for the next phase of this grand MCU project. Like it's a kind of a juxtaposition right there.
There's also a baby
who didn't walk yet.
He didn't walk yet.
Right. Hold on, though. Hold on. But
okay,
we're on track here. We're on track here.
Okay.
First, Meg, I loved your point there about the fact that like we skip the origin story, right? We know the origin story, but you know, with Peter Parker, everyone already knows Peter Parker's super smart. I think with Johnny Storm and like even just understanding Ben and how he became such a great pilot, like they can drop a line like that with Ben and it's like it's okay. But with Johnny, it's like he's always seen as like the hothead, right? And it's like
even if especially if you've seen like the 202015 Chris Evans iteration, right?
Exactly. That's the iteration that you're going off of, and maybe not the comics, to understand like the sciencey geeky guy that Johnny Storm is, and that's why him and Peter Parker or Spider-Man are like best friends, kind of like they can kind of geek out and do this shit together.
I hope that happens.
It could potentially happen.
We all do. Yeah.
But I'm gonna just say this in regards to First Steps. I think seeing Franklin do his thing was the first step in a bigger story to be told, right? Because First Steps is a bit of like a term. Oh, he took, you know, like we're taking the first steps on this plan. Like, the first steps moving forward on this initiative on this, like it's sort of a term that is used. And I think here seeing Franklin do his thing is sort of the first step in a larger story that will be told, and we can talk about that
just
more
weird
later.
If it's supposed to be a standalone film, like it's in a different universe, calling it First Steps,
but we
is
can't
very bold,
right? But we also can't
you could have called it something else and still have that moment hit just as hard, is all I'm saying.
Sure,
Because
I understand.
Without the title, that moment, even without the title or not, like that moment's incredible and is going to set up what's to come. You don't need to hint at that with a very obtuse or very wide stretch of a name. Like
it feels more tongue in cheek.
Fantastic Four. We're back.
Yeah,
we're so back. I love.
We're so back.
Yeah.
Yes,
the
and
dinosaurs.
It's amazing.
It's so good. I just bought it on VHS when I went to Valley Village to get my suit. I think we can all just. I don't have any more WTFs. I think you guys actually did a great job of covering it. I want to get back to loving on this movie, but I think we can all agree collectively that it's better than Fan 4 Stick. So let's keep going here. I wanted to get into our Fantastic Four, maybe more, of our favorite Easter eggs, and I've got a list for sure, but I want to throw it to the three of you. Give me your one of your favorite or your favorite Easter egg that you experienced in the movie, even if it's my favorite. I want you to talk about it.
I'm going to go first because I don't think I saw a single one. It was my first time watching it, so I don't think I was really ready to look hard enough. Also, we saw it in an IMAX theater and we were kind of off to the side, so it was like a bit of a wonky view. The only one that was like the most obvious one, but I got excited, was the fact that their rocket's called Excelsior. I was like, the moment they said it for the first time, I went, I've heard that word before. I haven't watched Marvel in a while. And so I loved that was like such a nice nod to Stan Lee.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I also missed a lot of these Easter eggs because I too only got to see it once. I was busy while you guys were seeing it a second time. I had something else I was doing. But one of my favorite Easter eggs that I did catch was in the post-credit kind of photo collage of stuff, and it was it has to be a very clear and obvious One Piece reference, with the fact that Mr. Fantastic is a stretchy man as well. There's one scene where he's got a monkey on his shoulder who's pulling his lip in the trademark Luffy pose. So
that's cool.
It can't not be a reference if you ask me. So I thought that was really cool.
If we ever get the chance to converse with Matt Shackman ever
that
again,
is the first question I'm
putting
asking.
it out into the universe. You're asking that 100%. I'd love to know if he's a One Piece fan for sure. Justin.
Like I don't think I caught a lot. The one that really stood out to me, and to consider the fact that we saw the intro a few times, probably between you and I, Nate. We watched preview footage before interviews, and then we actually did the press screening, and then we went to the fan event. And yes, thank you, Marvel Studios Canada and Disney for having us to all three of those. But I think the thing that stood out to me in that iteration is in that montage where they're kind of you're getting the origin story for the last 4 years for the Fantastic Four. There's this distinct moment. Oh, actually, sorry, I'm thinking of the wrong part. In the moment in Times Square when Silver Surfer arrives, or H.E.R.B.I.E arrives, and you see the city and everyone's like, what is that, and there's this distinct moment where there's an artist, or it looks like a comic book illustrator, that's peering out of his window wondering what it is, and you can see like artwork on the wall, and all that artwork really felt very Jack Kirby. So I think there was a lot of his artwork. At first I was wondering if he was meant to be Jack Kirby in that universe.
I think so.
Is that what was that what I was right? Yeah.
Well, Jack Kirby is known for writing himself into several storylines. He's interacted with Spider-Man. I'm pretty sure he's talked to Human Torch before, just as someone who's or has a window open in New York and sees things type thing. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's an allusion to what they were doing there.
And if that was the case, like outside of obviously the touching Earth 828 being, reflective of Jack Kirby's birthday, to have that sort of nod to he's existing in this world, and he's now, this character is painting and drawing pictures. Like I think we saw that giant green monster from the first issue that's on the cover.
Giganto.
Giganto, that's right. Yeah, Giganto. We see that in the background in the black and white, and then you get another look inside the studio, looking out as you see in the window, seeing Silver Surfer, and you see more artwork that is very, Jack Kirby coded. It wasn't colored, right? Like that's the thing. Like it didn't have the vibrancy of it because I think it kept like some of that black and white, like that, retro vibe to it. But yeah, I feel like that's what I saw. I don't know. Like I said, like I guess there's some validation here, but I'm wondering if maybe I'm a bit crazy.
Not at all. No, because I mean, and the other gentleman with him looked like Stan Lee, and I
didn't even notice that part though. I was more like on that artwork.
On the wall, you're right. There's artwork, and it is of the Thing. So in my mind, I think you're absolutely nailing it. I think these are the in-universe versions of Jack Kirby and Stan Lee writing for Timely Comics, a comic book like group that exists within 828. And I think
So
that's so
cool.
cool because the quote that they share at the end, that I read and I sort of understood it even more in reference to this sequence is, if you look at my characters, you will find me. No matter what kind of character you create or assume, a little of yourself must remain there. And then they followed up with that reveal of the birthday being 828. So I think that's absolutely beautiful.
Cool.
And I think it's such a
So
cool
touching.
way to honor them,
Mhm.
and to honor Jack Kirby, especially because I think, you know, there was entire segments of the Stan Lee documentary that highlighted the fact that a lot of people just think of Stan Lee when it comes to Marvel, but Jack Kirby had such a huge part to play as well, right?
That's so true.
Yeah.
And it's that mentality of like, Stan Lee probably stuck around the longest, obviously, because I think Jack Kirby was definitely very pivotal in the early years. But again, Darcy, when did he, like, how long was he at Marvel for?
I can't remember. I always get the Silver Age mixed up because it wasn't during my time. It is
Right.
just a piece of history to me. So I'm
For sure.
very rough with those
But it was,
dates.
but
I
their
do know that
collaboration was groundbreaking, right? Like it
yes,
broke
they
ground for
were.
things.
They've made so many of these iconic characters and these storylines where these two in a room together late at night type thing, coming up with the next week's issue together. And uh, again, like that, once they had their following and once Stan started becoming the face of Marvel, that's when Jack kind of got upset and went his own direction and I believe left the company. But to see again him finally get his dues and his face recognized so much and so lovingly in this film is so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that he's the one that delivers the line, "Would you look at that?" Right. And it's lovely. And again, it's a scary moment because the herald of it all. But, you know, now I love that you brought that up. That was definitely one of my favorites as well. I do want to shout out and just clarify for at least us, because I don't know if other people are thinking this, stork pregnancy test, not Stark pregnancy test. At the beginning of the movie, you got her, you know, you got Sue on the toilet looking at the test, and it is a stork pregnancy test, not a. We thought it was
great,
but,
like almost though.
Yes,
this probably
really
meant
good
to
sorta,
be a parallel and
maybe
also a pun.
to throw you off a little bit, right? To get, they're like, we know those Marvel freaks are gonna want to think that it says Stark.
I think it was also just the sort of retro tech. Like, was it in
Mhm.
WandaVision that there was that toaster that was like
Yep.
Stark? And it was like, it had like a little light on
And
it
it
and
would
stuff like
bleep,
that.
bleep,
Yeah. So I
bleep.
think all of that kind of added up to like when you see it, because like we were like, could it say Stork or is it Stark? And when we also were like, Stork. I remember you and I looked over at each other.
I looked over at
"Stork."
Justin. It's just like Stork. Yeah.
Stork, yeah.
Now, you know, speaking of WandaVision, Megan, I don't know if you caught this, but in the background, very quickly in one of the sequences, I'm not sure if it's when they're fighting Giganto or I can't remember exactly where. You see a sign for Westview Appliances and Televisions,
That's
which
fun.
I think is maybe less of the idea that like there's a Westview and 828 and more of an. I think Matt Shackman said like he just wanted
It's
to
an
do
Easter
that because
egg
he
for
loved
fun.
it, right? He loved what he made. So that's dope, and I loved seeing that in there the second time. I wanted to bring up, and you know, we all kind of were freaking out about it. I didn't see it during our preview footage screening, and I literally was like looking away, writing a note, and Justin looked over. He's like, "You missed it," and I'm like, "What?" And the entire time I was thinking, "What did I miss?" During the Future Foundation speech on global disarmament, which is featured in the first 4 years montage, we see an absent seat for Latveria. And so I wanted to quickly, you know, pitch, does this mean that Doom isn't here yet, or is his absence because he's getting ready to reveal himself? And if obviously if you want to save some of whatever you want to say for later when we do break down theories, but why do you think he wasn't at the disarmament talk? I guess is what I'm asking.
So is that where he's from?
Just to clarify, everyone, let's all push our glasses up together. Doom is from Latveria.
Not Latvia.
Not Latvia.
Yeah.
No.
Latveria is
made up country
versus the real one that you mentioned there.
Yes.
I think this is just more a tee up and a play for the idea of whatever Doomsday could bring could be multiple Dooms. And like or we might see something with multiple Dooms, and at least it just affirms that there might be there is a Doom, or it could be a Doom in this universe. Again, there's a lot of just playfulness to it, which it goes is a sort of subtle nod to say like we haven't forgotten about this character that's going to be super important in an upcoming movie, but hey, have fun with wondering where the fuck he is, right?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if it's because in the comics, when he goes to school with Reed after being raised by gypsies and finding magic, he also goes and learns about tech and manages to blend the two, and that's his whole thing. But when he is going back to Latveria, he overthrows and like frees his people by oppressing them essentially and becoming the tyrannical ruler. So I'm wondering if this is either an empty seat because he is in the midst of his overthrowing, or he just never returns to UN because he disagrees with what they're doing. Both of them seem very much up Doom's alley. And again, just the idea that Latveria is a thing in this universe. We will be getting a Doom. It's almost like just a nod before what we get later on.
Okay. I think we're gonna get back to the doom of it all when we get to the end of our conversation here with some spoilers. But I wanted to just throw out just a few more, and this one's more of a acknowledgement to something that you brought up, Justin, which I didn't catch until literally the third time I saw it, which is during that montage. And we get a bunch of circles that are coming up, and it's thank you, Fantastic Four, and thank you, Fantastic Four. There is a group of 4 elderly friends, and one of them is a woman, and 3 of them are gentlemen. That's you were saying, Justin, that the original Fantastic Four in a film that was never released are in this movie. That was them.
Yeah, that was them.
Yeah,
I think everyone was wondering when they said that they were in the movie that, and because they were at the blue carpet premiere in LA, that like they might be like a multiversal version, which would have been cool. But I like that they
I'm
were
glad
more
they didn't do
background.
that, though.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't do that.
Yeah.
Like that'd have been too much.
There's enough now.
Exactly.
We
And
don't
I
need
like
to
that
do
they were more
every movie.
background. Yeah, they were more background, and I like that they were kind of integrated into the retroness of it all, right? Because like even like some of the other blips that kind of came up, I'm pretty sure Macy Shackman, Matt Shackman's daughter, was one of them as well, again showing up. So yeah, that was a cool way to integrate them and get them into it. And it's a bit of a, you have to really look to see it, right? To like catch it.
Yeah, loved it, absolutely adored it, and was so happy to see it that time. The last one that I have before we continue, you just mentioned her, Maisie Shackman, director Matt Shackman's daughter. This is more of a plug for check out our wonderful interview that Justin actually got to do with Matt Shackman. Again, thank you, Marvel and Disney. But she's saved by Johnny Storm from being crushed, and Matt Shackman also shared with us in our interview with him a little nod to where Ben gets his cookies. And that's all I'm going to say, because I want you to go and watch the interview. Justin did a phenomenal job, not just talking about any chance Justin gets to bring the daughter of it all into the conversation, the dad of it all into the conversation.
For sure. Yeah, it's always a fun time. There's this, there's a little more to connect there with, right? And just
you're in a specific club.
Yeah, I'm in a very specific club, but also I think it's really great when, even in the interview, there's just a little bit more shared in regards to how the story is really shaped by Matt's own experience with becoming a father, and like the things that he mentioned about like how things change, and even just watching the movie with that context in my mind, it's really interesting how he really does talk about a variety of things, but like having to let go of that desire to always be protective and be concerned, and have to just like kind of let things happen, and that sense of control that you might have, and how life does change and it does reshape itself, obviously. So it's cool to have kind of catch some of those little messages that he's kind of like, or themes that he's playing with within this film, in the context of having gone through some of that. So yeah, it's a very specific club, but I think that's very also relatable for a lot of people, even if you're a mother too, right? Like it's the same, especially with Sue's story.
And looking at your face in the interview, looking at his face in the interview, I gotta say, you can just tell how proud these dads are of their baby girls. And speaking of faces, I want to move to our next segment, Fantastic Four faces. And just really quickly, I mean, we talked in there spoiler free just how phenomenal the chemistry is of these actors and the first family specifically. So I wanted to throw it to the 3 of you. Was there a specific moment where words weren't said, but these actors acted the crap out of the scene with their faces, and just a moment that stood out to you? And I'll throw it up to anyone who wants to jump in.
To me, it was Reed Richards. After John Krasinski doing his job as Reed Richards in Multiverse of Madness, and I was incredibly disappointed with it because he is not the smartest man at all. If he walked into that, it was just dumb. I didn't like him at all. This one I loved because the fact that you can see what he's thinking and his mind's going a mile a minute as he's figuring out every possible option, and you can see when the family starts picking up on that in certain moments, stuff like that. It was so good. Pedro Pascal does such a good job of bringing Reed as the intellectual to like the screen here, and I loved it.
Yeah.
For me personally, I loved Joseph Quinn's performance as Johnny Storm, and he has chemistry with wallpaper. Like, this guy, in my opinion, was fantastic in the movie. I thought he did such a great job in each individual scene that he was in, whether it was meant to be comedic, whether it was, a more intense scene with Shalabal, or just like a moment of him trying to figure out information. Like, Darcy, you're talking about Pedro Pascal's Mr. Fantastic and the cogs turning and the gears working. You also get to see Johnny's version of that in certain scenes, which was really nice. And, I gotta say, I think my crush list is growing. Put a little pair of slutty little glasses on Johnny Storm, and it's over.
Watch out, Jonathan Bailey. Watch out. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Justin, you want to put slutty glasses on him too?
No, I have my own slutty glasses. I really loved Sue's performance. Vanessa Kirby. I think she understood the job, like what she was meant to do. I was blown away at the sense of how she was really like a leader in her own right of this family. And I think it goes far beyond being just a mother. It's a sister, it's a wife, it's a friend. Like, she imbued all of that, from being the only woman in this Fantastic Four. And I really liked how they anchored her character as being that. And I think Vanessa Kirby really brought that energy of understanding the range that she needed to bring. They all did, though. They really all did. Like like you said with Joseph Quinn, like he's still, I guess, still new to acting, but he's had a lot of success in various roles. And like even in Gladiator, he showed how much range he has. And then in here, he has it, and you can kind of see the Gladiator haircut that showed up here in this film, right? Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, it looks very, very similar. But like, Pedro Pascal too was just the range that he gave, and the sort of being cursed with knowledge mentality that he had, or this being cursed with being so smart. It really manifests itself in a way that feels parallel to Tony Stark, and I don't know if that's something that will come up again in regards to Victor Von Doom being Robert Downey Jr., and maybe some parallels running there. But yeah, I think Sue has, I think Vanessa Kirby has really, acted her heart out as Sue Storm, and has kind of made her, like, yeah, Pedro Pascal as Reed is really great, but like, I now see Sue as the leader of the Fantastic Four.
I agree.
Like,
she was the main character.
Like, I know he's the brains, but she's 100% the heart. And I believe, like, Ben and Johnny are there, and they bring charisma and soul, and it's all the elements, right? So, and then you got Franklin, whatever.
Franklin's there too to be a CGI baby sometimes. But I mean, well, that one moment with him before he pees himself, and Pedro's looking into his eyes. That baby, Megan was like, "That's a cute looking baby."
Yes.
But for me, I want to say, and I'll round it out here with our Fantastic Four. I want to speak to the phenomenal, like, job that these mocap artists did and Eben Moss-Bachrach did, because that one very specific glinted. I was listening to a podcast today. I love the Kind of Funny guys, but I wholeheartedly disagree with them on this one element of their review, which is Nick, he's great. I love his opinions for a lot of stuff, but he said that he really felt like the mocap got in the way of what Eben Moss-Bachrach can do. And I guess I can understand that in certain instances, but honestly, the glint in his eye the moment he notices that Sue's pregnant.
Yeah.
I saw that through CG rock face.
Yeah.
And so for me, like that's impressive from Eben Moss-Bacharach, and that is equally as impressive from these visual artists who, again, maybe we run into CGI baby, but we get phenomenal
CGI
facial expressions.
Eben Moss-Bacharach
rock face.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And a rock face.
Well, it's sorry, just to comment on the CG and of it all. It's like a Lilo and Stitch situation. You can see where they spent their money.
Darcy said that he was the Stitch of this movie. That Eben Moss-Bacharach.
That's the spoiler free. Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. The glimmer that little sparkle that you see in his eye when he calls out Sue for being pregnant, like you see that. The other moment too is when he's having this really heartfelt conversation with Reed before they go to space, and he's like, "Hey, I got news for you, Stretch. You're not the smartest. You're not as smart as you think you are, right?" And the way he says it and the way he looks at it, I'm like, "There's Eben. Like there, you can see it." And I think even
sorry, really quick, him peeking out when Johnny tells him that the beard looks cool.
Yeah,
And he's like, you really think it's cool?
Yeah,
and I'm
really
like,
think it's cool.
He thinks he's so cool. It's so lovely.
Or when they're like going over the plan in the Excelsior, and he's just like, and he's like, okay, listen, if he's a big guy, you guys can punch him out. And he's like, yeah, I don't know, like they did a really good job.
Look, sorry, just we're on the train. One more.
Yeah,
the look that he gives Pedro or Reed when Reed says, "Trust me," and he just looks back and goes, "Okay," and he just starts going, and it's like, the level of trust that he has after what happened to him.
Yeah.
Like, trust me. And you're talking about Reed's the reason technically that he is the way he is, because he didn't prepare the suits properly to a certain degree. Again, obviously we don't want to do too much blaming, but just that sense of like, trust me. And then he does after all that. I'm in love.
Yeah. I also just loved how they took the angle with the character. Again, not having read much of like the Fantastic Four lines in the past, but seeing them show up in other stories, there's just a different experience with them. But if I go off of like even what the movies have done, it always felt like the Thing or Ben had a problem with what happened to him versus what happened to his friends, and the normalization of his life and how much it's changed. And we get instances of that here that feel more internalized, yet externally with those around him and those he's making it work. He was the wisdom of this group. He provided thoughtfulness, and I thought that was a really interesting angle to take, because he could easily go down that route of being, I hate everything, and I'm the guy who likes to smash stuff because my life's hard and everyone else looks normal and I look like this. But he's still figuring it out, and you have these like really subtle moments where it's like the TV is showing his old face and it turns off and then you see the Thing, and it's like, and he's looking back at himself and understanding what he was and where he is now. That's that's almost as gut-wrenching as anything else that he could have delivered, where it was like a monologue talking about it. You know what I mean? Like you feel for him in that moment. So I loved that angle that they took with it. And I think to the point of what we've been saying is like, with that CGI and that visual effects and that mocap with Eben, he still shows through it. And bravo to him.
Yeah, hands all around, chef, for sure. That's a Bear reference. I want to go to our next segment here as we continue on before we get to the crazy. Everyone, talk about this, talk about that. I want to talk about our Fantastic Four favorite moments, and I know it's tough because there's a lot of moments that we loved about this movie. We're going to narrow it down to one, and if there's some overlap, that's okay. But who would like to go first and share their Fantastic Four favorite moment? Go ahead, Megan.
Well, honorable mention goes to the scene with Pedro and the baby, because we already mentioned it, but it was beautiful and it was really sweet and intimate, and the baby was adorable. But the birth scene was crazy.
Yeah.
That had so many angles to it, so much emotion. Like Sue being in such a vulnerable state in space is crazy. Throwing her pants off while her brother is on the other end is crazy.
They're adults, Meg.
The groundedness of it all.
If you were in space and you had to give labor and your brother was there, you'd
for sure would not care.
You'd be like, take these pants off. I'm out of here. Come on, yeah.
But it was just like such a wildly honest moment in such a not real scenario.
Yeah.
And the emotion and the connection and the chemistry, of course, between Pedro Pascal and Vanessa Kirby in that was so beautiful. And that was like a jaw-dropping scene for me.
It felt like a different movie. It feels like Interstellar and Gravity with a baby scene in it. Like there's just such and what, like Ben is racing around is going to slingshot around, I guess, a star black hole to slingshot them back home. And you have that layered into it. And, you know, at this point, like, it's really nice, as you were saying before, Meg, like, we're not seeing them, the Fantastic Four at a point where they're still figuring their stuff out. Like, you know, they know what they're doing. Like the way that he snaps, like that Ben snaps the thruster up, switches with Herbie while Johnny is still at the thing, and then is helping Reed and Sue with Franklin. Like, it was such
they all know how to navigate each other without really speaking.
It was a cool moment. Yeah, it was a really cool moment. That was definitely one of my favorites as well. I think I'll just blanket this by saying anytime we saw Galactus on screen was a really cool moment. Just given the aspect ratio change, where it was full IMAX and it fills the screen and you just get that towering effect from him, and the way they position the cameras where it's over his shoulder and you're looking down and you just see how small they are, or when you're with them and you see how ginormous he is, it all really translated well in the IMAX experience. And when he's storming through New York and you see him there, it's terrifying, and then it's also like incredibly immersive because it's so like terrifying. And
like you said, storming through New York, he's strolling through New York.
Sorry, he's not storming.
Yeah,
this baby. He's just like, I gotta find this baby. And you know, I wondered how they were going to incorporate the Galactus into this story, and I was actually impressed with how they did, and they didn't necessarily give it too much pageantry other than the herald of it all. But like, like, again, like we were saying, I think you mentioned it, Nate, like there's this idea to think that Galactus is like a Thanos level character, but for the Fantastic Four, he's just like a regular.
It's a horrible thing that's gonna happen.
Exactly. Because they're used to that. So like it's not necessarily something that has that sort of gravitas, and he could, but like at the end of the day, they don't need to be so precious with it. They can be more free with it because this is the 828, and here in this side of the universe or the galaxy, in this alternate universe, things are just a bit different, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that the thing is that he's not a villain; he's just a natural disaster.
Yes,
that's what Ralph says in a lot of the interviews too. You're right. Yeah.
So that is just who he is in the comics. He never does anything with a malicious intent. He is just doing what he was designed to do by creators far greater than any of us can understand, type thing. Like, this is just something he's been cursed with, and he does not care like about anything or anyone. So
right.
I don't know. He was great. Galactus was awesome. I was going to say, I need the same thing here. I mean, to be specific, I think, the Human Torch and Thing Cannonball was probably awesome, if only because you see them both crash to the ground afterwards, because they were like, we are going full into this thing as fast as we can, and who cares about how we get out of it? Because they just smash into the ground beside you. They're like, okay, get back up and keep going.
I
loved it.
Definitely phenomenal moments. And I think the fact that the Galactus stuff, we talked about how his face is, obviously there's elements of it that are CG'd that sort of take away, personally, that I felt for me from the authenticity of having him on a miniaturized set and kicking cars around like apparently he actually did. But knowing the way that's how a lot of that was captured, even though if it didn't fully translate in the face side of things, I think is really cool. Really quickly, Megan, I definitely will share with you the birth of Franklin the Richards. I mentioned in the spoiler free that the sequel, the literally the shot of Sue just floating in the circular window with the sun glowing in the background was maybe one of my favorite shots of the film. And then I think her screaming as she's, literally birthing the baby, that gave me so much X-Men. It gave me so much X-Men vibes because that's oftentimes how they discover their powers, as we saw in my favorite X-Men movie, which is X-Men. Like it's how they, they go through some intense moment or trauma or thing that happens that really pushes their powers. So for her to almost like be like not in control of it, for me, and it's another moment around Sue, has to be Sue's speech. I think was my favorite moment in the entire movie. I think she's walking out into that crowd, and you have this character. Her whole power is that she can become invisible. And so for her to walk into that crowd, there's even a woman in the crowd. It's like, why'd you bring your baby out here? And like this woman is part of the like pitchfork gang that are going to like, I'm like, and I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, that lady's thinking what I'm thinking. I'm like, don't bring your baby. They're going to take your baby away from you. But no, she has the power to become invisible. And all she wants in that moment is to be seen and to be heard. And I just thought that was so beautiful.
And create invisible force fields. You're forgetting like the other half of her power.
Sure, no, okay.
She can do way more than just turn invisible. She can also protect the baby, but way better than anyone else there. Like,
right, but in the context of that sequence, again, the fact that the poetry of it all, the fact that she wants to be seen, and she shares these incredibly heroic series of sentences about coming together as a human race. It got me ready to fist pump in those sequences where they were like doing the news thing of like the world is coming together in a way we've never seen before. And that comes from her. So when we talk about a leader of this group, she's a leader of people more than anything. She's a leader of the world. And I love the line, I will not sacrifice my child for this planet. But I will not sacrifice this planet for my child. I just thought it was peak. It was peak for me. So that was my favorite moment.
Beautiful writing.
That I think that's what solidified her as a leader for me too, was like her ability to understand that her in that moment, that vulnerability, and like you said, having to be seen and really relating and talking to this mob as a human, not just as someone who has like, as a mother, as someone who has that, like she projected strength, she projected honesty. And like, to your point, I guess like that was another thing that I wasn't too crazy about, is like, just because of the world we live in, but I guess it's not 828, but like there ain't no way that they're mobilizing that fast and they're building all of this stuff. It's like, okay, right, you got me, because to the point, they anchor it in the fact that Sue started that initiative. Like, like her speech resonated, and then Reed came up with like, here's a plan, right? And it all just kind of coalesced, and they were able to activate and move on an idea and get the world to kind of buy into it, because they believed in them. As you said, like they are the protectors of this earth. They are the leaders of this earth. There's no other superheroes, right? And maybe that can change, but at the same time, they are that, and they are projecting that. Like if there were superheroes in our time, we would hope that they could be like that, right? Where they could be people that can help shape the world in a really honest way, but they're not necessarily being a bully and doing it, right? Which is kind of a Superman thing at the same time.
Well, this is, I was just going to say, Superman very much
touches
got the idea of hope, and I think this very much showcases that emphasis on hope, and the hope that you can put in human beings, not just superheroes, but of course led by superheroes. Now, I want to, obviously all these human beings, if they're not in a cult off worshiping Galactus singing "Let Us Be Devoured," they're watching on their Saturday morning cartoons while they're eating their Lucky Charms at the maybe when they should have been not eating them during dinner. They are watching an animated version of the Fantastic Four. So obviously I want to talk about the end credits, but I want to talk about the end credits first.
Sure.
And I wanted to ask, what did you all think about this really charming sort of little wrap up of seeing the Fantastic Four in full animation?
Well, I don't know who said it first, but I feel like Darcy might have said it, but that should be a Disney Plus show.
Yeah, that was me.
Like that whole thing.
1,000%.
Like to tell that side of the story, and for us to see those 4 years told through that sort of art style would be really interesting. And it also plays into sort of a meta quality of like we're watching the show that they're watching in that in universe.
Totally.
But
well,
yeah, I
and
think
we
that's a
got
really good
success with X-Men 97, so 97. Sorry,
X-Men 27 sounds like a really great show though too.
I'd
watch that one too.
But I did like X-Men 97 in that. Yeah, like it was his own vibe. It's the same thing with like trying to bring back Spider-Man. You can't, like, the way they brought back Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, or sorry, the way they did Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man was a way to kind of remember that sort of past animated show with also this the Deco vibes and stuff like that. And now here we have something else that can kind of lean into a bit of that nostalgia, because I think that's where they're at their strongest, right? Is when they can kind of tell their stories through the lens of a sort of a genre, something that can kind of pull at the nostalgia strings. And that's what worked well for X-Men and Spider-Man. And yeah, Fantastic Four could have a show, right? That's a great idea, Darcy. You should write.
I would love that.
Yeah.
You said everything I wanted to say, so thank you.
I'm sorry.
But I think even if it was beyond that, I'd love the Fantastic Four, but I'd also love, like, maybe they go really meta with it. They give this in-universe universe its own number, and like I saw somebody had commented that said it was very Hanna-Barbera vibe with the way they ran, and very right.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, like, you could name the universe Universe 324714, which are just the birthdays of Joseph Barbera and William Hanna. I think would be a neat little nod to them if they wanted to sort of reference that animation style. Now, I'm not sure how that all works in terms of licensing, because I'm pretty sure that they're all
different.
But
I don't think they would be able to reference it. They can mimic the style and give it its own vibe, but at the end of the day, they probably can't associate it with.
You could reference it with a date. I mean, dates aren't copywritten.
No, for sure. You could definitely
pay
do
homage
that.
in that way, right?
Exactly.
Sort of say thank you instead of just ripping it off. But
sure.
Yeah,
that's cool. I like that idea.
Yeah, I love that idea, Darcy.
Yeah,
but but let's get to the end. Sorry, just the end credits. I know a lot of people thought they should be there around, but I want to get to the end credits for our, as well as our Fantastic Four theories for what's next. So let me break it down here. We cut to a scene 4 years later in 1969 where Sue is reading The Very Hungry Caterpillar to a now 4-year-old Franklin, and he finishes her line by saying in a cute little voice, "Butterfly." Then she goes to get another book. The first suggestion from Herbie is Charles Darwin's On the Origin of Species, but Sue says he read that one yesterday. So she finds the book A Fly Went By. But as she walks back to her son, we hear a droning sort of room, like almost like a metal sound or a portal sound. And she turns the corner and she sees her son Franklin holding his hand up to touch the face of a green hooded figure holding a silver mask. So let's dig into this. I want to know, what did you think of the end credit scene? And what did you think of this massive moment? And what do you think is next for the Fantastic Four, Franklin, Doom, or the rest of the MCU? I'll throw that out to anyone who wants to jump in.
Well, I honestly think that it might be a misdirect to think that she maybe is scared or worried that Doom is here, because I feel like if Doom is this great threat and Reed went to school with him and knows about him, stuff like that, would be worried about him coming in. There'd probably be sensors to detect any magical ongoings, if you will. I mean, we've seen that in the main timeline. What's to say this retro future doesn't have the same thing? So I'm just wondering if this is just he is just coming for a family visit, because in the comics he is the godfather of their second child, Valeria, who, if I am not mistaken, would be born around this time. If it's 4 years later, they would have the two kids. So I maybe she's just down for a nap in another room, and I don't know, but I feel like that'd be a really cool way to introduce the character as a friend to the Fantastic Four, and before he takes his villainous turn, because they have different ideas on how to survive these oncoming incursions, where Reed's like, we'll save everyone, we'll make lifeboats, because that's what they did in Secret Wars, the comics. And Doom's like, no, we can't save everyone, we should just save ourselves and the brightest minds, so we can start over in the new universe that I'm going to make for myself. So I think that'd be a really cool way to go. Also, the fact that Franklin's powers are very connected to reality warping, and in the Secret Wars storyline, after the fallout of those events, he helps create the new universe that everyone comes back to with Doctor Strange and God Emperor Doom and all this stuff. So I don't know. I think it'd be really, there's a lot of cool stuff that comes from this very quick scene. And I think, again, the idea that he'd be a friend over foe would be a different way to introduce this Doom, especially if we already see a mask.
I love that because I think we're talking about all the chemistry of these characters. Robert Downey Jr., if it is Robert Downey Jr.'s Doom, but Robert Downey Jr. being charming and friendly, absolutely. He can do that, right? We know he can do that. So I think, that's a great idea.
But can he do it in a new, fresh way? Probably. It's Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Justin, Megan, did you have any Fantastic Four theories?
I have none. I'm just getting myself back into this, and we're in a space. I've mentioned it many times before on anything since Endgame, pretty much, that I've been on, that we're heading into real comic book areas where I've never heard of some of these characters. So I'm just learning about them as they appear, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, I think
because I don't know where it could go.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty about Marvel in general, right? Like even just having the perspectives on this podcast right now, right? To have someone like yourself who's less concerned about what's going to happen, but the journey, right? And the comic book fans who have stayed so close to it, like Darcy, who understand the multitude of angles that can be taken. And then there's me who doesn't really, like, I have some experience with that, but I'm also like you in the sense where it's like it'll be interesting to see where things will go, but I always love a good theory. So I feel like after talking with some people obviously at the event, the after party that we went to, some of our fellow influencer friends, it feels like this is leaning towards Franklin being very pivotal in the Secret Wars in the next chapter, or the closing out of this multiversal saga because of his abilities. And it seems like that's been done. So I think like you're saying, Darcy, and I think Aaron Kabusk, who we were talking to. Yeah, Kabusk, he gave us some time. He was saying that I was saying, like, Franklin is going to be integral. Like this was more about not just introducing the Fantastic Four, but introducing Franklin specifically, and understanding where he's coming from, and then understanding what his abilities are and how he's going to basically set up or somehow be involved in Secret Wars.
And so what I think the coolest thing is right now we're entering a time where 10 years ago or 2015, when I was reading Secret Wars and we were getting, our Iron Man and Captain America and the early Avengers on that's coming to the screen, I was like, oh, we're never going to get to these wild storylines I'm reading now. And the fact that it's just around the corner and people are getting hyped for the same reasons that I was hyped reading that original run, it's just like, let's go. This is comic book movies are back, and I can't wait for more just in these worlds. I said one. Yeah, but that's weird.
Yeah, well, there's multiple. There's going to be more. So I do that.
There's multiple worlds. Exactly. I was trying to say worlds, and I said one.
I do think though that based on what we were given in Thunderbolts earlier this year.
Not all
I know
I
don't want to talk about it. I know that. Okay. I just want to say
my headphones off.
No, it's fine. It's okay. We're not going to talk about it. I don't need to get into detail about it for the purpose of what I'm about to say. But I will say that it was more robust. It gave us more to chew on, right? And I enjoyed that. I was like, okay, this matters. This is going to be a part of the next story. And I thought that was smart. I thought that was great than just a little tease. And then we come to this, and it's just a tease. It's nothing more than walking into a room and seeing Franklin interact with the man in a green hood. Like it was very minimal. It was not nearly as fleshed out as I would have hoped, especially given the fact that I think the next movie is Spider-Man, but I have a funny feeling that that's going to be delayed and pushed out. I think,
and then so there's no buffer between.
There's going to be nothing between that. Yeah, I feel like it's going to be pushed because rumor has it they also have July 2027 as a date secured for a Marvel movie, and they haven't announced anything for that. So the running theory is that if they if they're able to, if they have to, they'll push back Spider-Man Brand New Day to that date, and then it would go back to the original script of the events take place before Doomsday, in that and leads right into Doomsday. Into Secret Wars. My apologies. Secret Wars is what I meant to say there. So it takes place after the events of Doomsday and leads into the events of Secret Wars. So I don't know how much of that is actually like obviously true, but that's just, internet chatter and so on and so forth. But that said, I feel like Spider-Man is probably going to be pushed.
A production theory on that side, I guess. Yeah, for sure. And I agree with you because I think it is interesting. But I think this movie, I was talking to some friends again at this thing, and I was saying I think this movie didn't make me more excited for Doomsday, but it did make me more excited to see more of the Fantastic Four for sure. Now, the theory that I have to share isn't so much a theory as much as it is like, I want to stir the pot a little bit, okay? Because we got some leaked images for Doomsday that are out there that you can find on the internet, and we don't know if they've been validated. We don't know if they're real. They don't know if they're fake. Whatever.
Well,
they
were meant to be taken down, but the damage had been done. So
the damage had been done.
Yeah.
So who knows? Whatever. But there was like an alternate Black Panther. There's a few other images of like the Young Avengers and what have you. But one thing I found was interesting was during the press conference. There was a virtual press conference hosted by Ash Crossman that members of the press got to attend. I was able to virtually attend it, and I thought that Pedro said something really interesting about his character. And I think Pedro is a brilliant actor, but I think any actor, especially one who Kevin Feige was like, all these folks are pretty tired because they're halfway through filming their stuff for Doomsday. And actors who maybe live in a character for a certain period of time, maybe they start sort of getting some wires crossed when they talk about their character. And I don't think this is absolutely confirmation. This very much does relate to his relationship with his first family. But he said something that I thought was really interesting based off of one of the leaked images. So he said, the one thing I found was anchoring was somebody that is this smart strangely kind of makes him kind of innocent when it comes to human interactions, whether that's reading the room the wrong way or finding the words to express himself. It was so fun to create idiosyncratic behavior around that. He's an incredible codependent, and without them, he doesn't know how to function. His identity is related entirely to his relationship with his family. Now, I bring that up because in the leaked image, the biggest leaked image that I saw was Dr. Doom sitting in a throne with a chained Reed Richards on his knees in front of him. And in my mind, I'm thinking back to that movie right now, and I'm thinking back to this quote, and I'm like, Reed doesn't really spend that much time without his family. So why would he say without his family he doesn't know how to function? And again, I completely get that. I
think that's a fair assessment. Yeah.
But the fact that he's, they're halfway through filming Doomsday.
Yeah.
I think it really speaks to the idea that maybe this leaked image actually is very true. And that is where we're going forward. To your point, Darcy, Doom is a friend. And then very quickly, that amazing turn could be incredible to see him steal Reed away. And then this is the mindset that Pedro has right now because he's maybe filming those moments. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and also throughout the film, we do see moments of Reed scrambling or being lost out the family, like looking for the iodine that he can't find anywhere. And Sue's like, it's right here. And immediately grabs it. And Ben later on, again, getting to calm down and just... we see moments of him being like going on these spirals until someone comes in and saves him. So I don't know if it's necessary in regards to that, but I definitely could see that being a situation. I mean, the way to hurt this family is to break them up and split them up. So that was bound to happen in a future endeavor or adventure for sure. So
yes,
either way, I think it's cool.
No, I think that's a really good read on that, Nate.
He said it. I was like, I had to write it right away.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good read because a good read.
Good read.
Hey,
It's like it's
love a pun.
We know you're a
double
dad
meaning.
already. Jeez.
But no, I think that's a good observation because he wouldn't say that if he wasn't in a place with the character where they are separated. So the circumstances of that separation could be different, but it is clear that he is going to be probably operating on his own with a set of other heroes without his family, and that might be part of that story, right? Like there is going to be, as Darcy said, like this thing that'll divide them, especially given the fact that like this film anchors them so well as a connective team that even to see them apart in like a Doomsday, which is the next movie that you see them in, it's like it would be a bit jarring, right? Like already it's like it'll have that impact, right? To see like, you know, other members of the Fantastic Four suddenly interacting with, you know, 19999 or the X-Men.
It's like Guardians of the Galaxy being split up in Endgame.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what I think I think that's
Huge.
the point of what they're trying to recreate, Meg, to your point, is this idea of this Avengers concept of like, well, here's all these heroes, right? Here they all are.
Let's interacting with
let's
people
mix,
they've never.
Let's mix them out. Let's throw some in space and some are in subterranean and like, you know, I don't know, like, or, you know, they're off in these different things. And I think that's what they're going to try to do is find a way to mix the pot, take a 20th century, you know, mutant and add Reed Richards and, you know, throw in a couple 199s, right? Like, you know, it'll have that effect. So yeah, I think that's a good observation, Nate. I think that makes a lot of sense. He wouldn't say that unless he's living and breathing that at this very moment while he's doing Doomsday, right?
He could be kind of method.
Yeah, and one of the reads in the comics, when he loses his family, he becomes that universe's greatest villain in the maker. So that also is a really cool potential storyline that Fanforstic looked like it was heading towards. I will say that much. That's the one thing that the footage had going for it, or trailers had going for it.
Fanforstic.
That the potential to go down that route.
I just got it.
Okay,
Originally, I was like,
the logo.
what the hell was Fanforstic? Did someone fuck that up? And I was like,
No.
oh, or did you meant to say Fan Force skins? I don't know.
Yeah,
I thought you were trying to be dirty, but now I get
Fantastic
it. I get it.
Foreskins are in Fortnite.
Yeah, I know. No, I wasn't aware of that, Darcy, and I know you and Caboose were talking about it. Is Caboose or am I saying that right?
Yeah,
we'll just call him Aaron.
Aaron, yeah. I know you and Aaron were talking about it at the after party, and I was like, oh, so he would have been a villain. Man, that makes me really want to see that story
he becomes like that, very much that Tony Stark mentality, wanting to protect
he's obsessed,
the world.
Yeah,
he
becomes his own enemy. Yeah,
he ends up basically
I put
manipulating the world.
Whatever it says. Yeah,
he creates like this perfect utopia where he can grow anything and solve any issue, but it's through like fear tactics that he rules this world essentially.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I also think, you know, John Krasinski, it's not his fault. Okay, I thought he looked very.
I thought he brought the
somebody
Jim
brought up
to
last
his,
night. Somebody brought
his,
up the
read.
Jim isn't the smartest man in the room. He is not
in the office.
No,
he is.
He is.
Dwight is smart. No, Dwight is the smartest. Just because
but he's not socially aware.
That doesn't mean he's not the smartest. Dwight is by far more intelligent than Jim.
You say that because you're Dwight. I know.
Bears beats Battlestar Galactica.
Tune into our Office Ladies podcast later. But no, I think I just, on that note though, with John Krasinski, somebody mentioned Council of Reeds. And I just thought if they want to do what they did for Spider-Man,
but there's a lot
for
of
like
that,
multiple heroes. That's
sure
cool with me.
But there's a lot of that.
Fun.
Like, isn't there a Thor version of the corpse, like a Thor corpse? Or
well, that's in So Battle World happens after Secret World.
Tell us, Darcy.
Wars.
Yes.
It's the amalgamation of all the universes that Doom pulls together and creates a new world after they are all being destroyed essentially. And in one of those, worlds was the foundation of the Thor Corps. So every Thor that survived joined a police force that is basically just a bunch of Thors. And
but it's like Green Lanterns, but Thor, right?
Yes,
like,
and so one of them was Storm, one of them was Beta Ray Bill, others were just other versions of Thor Odinson, just different things like that. Again, other ones there, we had the Marvel zombies beyond the wall at the north that were being very much Game of Thrones inspired, but with zombies and superheroes. There's a lot of stuff in Battle World.
So, but again, it looks like this Battle World could just be, primarily X-Men universe, 20th Century Fox X-Men universe are 1999 9, however many fucking nines there are, and then like the Fantastic Fours 828, and then I don't know, like does the TVA and all that stuff, like I'm wondering if that's like, we're not like, we might see some of these more interesting parts for Battle Worlds, but I don't think we're going to live there for too long. I don't think it's going to be true story focused, but I do think that like the primary ones where we're being introduced to the X-Men and the Fantastic Four and obviously the MCU proper, like those are probably going to be more the consistent Battle World elements, correct? I think. Yeah?
Yes. Yes. And again, what Battle World, while having all these wild things going on, it eventually was the building block that when Reed and I think it's Doctor Strange, after he stops supporting God Emperor Doom, very long time ago I read this story, but eventually Reed comes back and helps make the new world with Franklin, using this Battle World as like the building block and like the lifeboat, if you will, to then populate these new planets and worlds, essentially. Where I think like that's how the Ultimate Spider-Man came into our main timeline with Peter Parker and existing at the same time. So that's how we'll get some of these X-Men will now be brought into our universe, and like all these things that we want to keep from the old MCU will be set forward in this new universe that or is built at the end of Secret Wars.
Well, there's been also this week, Kevin Feige did a couple interviews, I think with Variety and Deadline. And I saw one of the excerpts that kind of talked about how Secret Wars is meant to be a sort of a soft reset. And I think this was a big theory for that a lot of people had in regards to, again, the opportunity to recast Captain America, Tony Stark, but you shift the focus, right? So Secret Wars being a sort of, let's finally move away from the memory and legacy of Tony Stark and Endgame and all of this, and sort of reboot the universe with a new set of heroes, and also being able to do more of what 828 did, was just introduce us to an alternate universe, you know what I mean, that could exist with these characters. And that whole plan and initiative is apparently it's the next 7 years long. So it's like, I think he says they have plans up to 2032, and it's like, bro, like 2032, like I thought we were supposed to like slow shit down and like quality over quantity. Like, how are you planning 7 years ahead, right? But unless those plans are like 1 or 2 movies and like a show, right? Like we don't know.
That part of that statement was that it was going to be 1 to 2 movies and 1 show a year. I think it was 1 and 1 was the focus after we get past Secret Wars.
I hope so. But like, again, like the X-Men have to do a lot of heavy lifting, and then people are going to be complaining, oh, there's not enough time. Like, we need more time with these things, right? Like,
well, listen, guys, when we get to the spoiler-filled discussions for those films, we will talk all about it. But I appreciate the conversation. It feels like we got sucked into a bit of a wormhole there for a little bit.
Sorry about that.
I love it.
Sorry.
I know.
You got me talking about my favorite storyline. I'm sorry.
It's gonna happen. I love the theories. I love it. I love it. It makes me, honestly, Darcy, it makes me want to hear more of future podcasts with you, digging into the comic side of things. So maybe that's something we can do in the future. But that is it for our spoiler-filled discussion for the Fantastic Four First Steps. We hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to share your thoughts on this movie or any of the movies or series we cover, well, let me just herald the arrival of Megan so she can let you know how you can reach out to us, not to devour us, but to share your thoughts.
You can reach us at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. Or if you'd like to hear me speak in a crazy different language on a record, you could go to Instagram at wearegeekcentric, or Twitter at geekcentricyt, or TikTok at we are geekcentric.
Yeah.
Nailed it. You can be our herald anytime, Megan. You nailed it.
Shala Ball ain't got shit on you, bro.
Megan.
I just heard Enrique Iglesias go through my head. I'm sorry.
That Twitter, though, that was good. I like that. I
will always be purposeful when I say Twitter.
Let them know. Keep in mind, we also have a ton of other great episodes covering the latest in movies and TV shows, including our other recent spoiler-filled discussions for James Gunn's Superman, Jurassic World Rebirth, and Marvel Television's Ironheart, which Darcy and I, we got into that big reveal at the end. So definitely check out those discussions to hear more. But we also have our most recent spoiler-free reviews out now as well for Marvel Studios' Fantastic Four First Steps, Marvel Television's Ironheart, Pixar Studios' Elio, How to Train Your Dragon, the live-action one, and Predator, Killer of Killers. Plus, we've also got some great interviews to check out, like our most recent interviews with director of this film, like we mentioned, Matt Shackman, and two of the cast members, the incredible Julia Garner, who plays H.E.R.B.I.E, the Silver Surfer, and Ralph Ineson, who plays Galactus. Justin and Matt discuss the incredible chemistry between the four members of Marvel's first family, and they also share a cute dad moment where Matt discusses what it was like working with his daughter Maisie for her scene in the movie, as well as why the movie was so personal to him. Then Julia and Ralph share how they came up with the voices for the cosmic characters they play, and Julia also shares what some of her previous characters, like Ruth Langmore from Ozark and Anna Delvey from Inventing Anna, might think of H.E.R.B.I.E, the Silver Surfer, if they were to ever meet. We also have interviews with most of the cast of the Apple TV Plus original series Foundation Season 3, and our deep dive available right now with Marvel Television's Ironheart Dara Taylor, where we get into some spoilers from a music side of things. So catch all those interviews either on your podcast service of choice or over on YouTube at youtube.com/geekcentric. It was like 40 degrees out yesterday, so I didn't think the hot geek summer could get any hotter, but it's going to. We've got coverage with even more great reviews and interviews coming soon, and not to mention, Geekcentric will be returning to Fan Expo Canada this year, which we are stoked for. It's looking like it's going to be a banger year, and one more thing. We are so incredibly excited and honored because Geekcentric, for the first time ever, just in time for the festival's 50th anniversary, has been accredited to attend the Toronto International Film Festival. So as soon as we figure out what that means and we figure out what we're covering, we're going to be sharing all of our experiences. We don't know what it means yet, but we'll figure it out. And we're going to be sharing our experiences on our social media, as well as obviously here on your podcast feed. So you can join us along the way. So be sure to subscribe, follow us on all the things. We are Geekcentric, and you can be too. Megan, Justin, Darcy, family. Thank you so much for joining me for this this fantasticer spoiler-filled discussion. And as we say, love ya.
Laters.
Bye.
Peace.